All right, welcome to the Athens Film Festival 2025 Creator Interviews. Today I'm here with Lorenzo Zottoli, writer, director, and lead actor from the film Worlds That Don't Exist, showing at the festival this August. Thanks so much for sitting down with me, Lorenzo. How are you doing?
I'm doing so good, and thank you so much for having me be a part of this festival. I'm so excited to come down to Athens and meet everyone in person.
Yes, no, we're so excited to have you. Your film takes place in California, was it?
Yeah, it takes place mostly like West Hollywood and Malibu areas, I would say.
Right, are you native there?
I moved there when I was 18, and I just turned 21 a few months ago, so I've been there for 3 years now.
Wow, so the film itself was pretty personal then.
Yeah, it was personal, but it was also like it was, and I'm sure I'll get into this later. I was at dinner with some of these directors, and they asked me if I was working on anything, and I kind of panicked and said I was, and then they were like, "Oh, that sounds cool. Do you have a budget for it?" And I was like, "No." So they gave me a few $100s to see what I could do with it, and I made it like a few weeks later.
Hell yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, it's a great film. We're so happy to have it in the festival. Really beautiful too. There's definitely like some beautiful colors going on. I mean, like a visual kind of nostalgia that you can see. How was that kind of conversation like with your DP?
Yeah, so I where we shot it, like in the house, and obviously all the outdoor locations were amazing. I That was my first like house. I lived in LA for 3 years, and I found out I was probably gonna be leaving soon. And I really wanted to like capture that house because I mean I loved living there. And I had a girl play my roommate who was my like real roommate in real life. And then I when I'm not doing film stuff or working, I love to hike around California and go to the beach. Kind of just picked my favorite places I've explored in California, which happens to be like Malibu and some different beaches. My DP flew out from Virginia, and I've worked with him a lot before. So I sent him video. I took videos on my phone in the weeks leading up, and was like, kind of like, let's start brainstorming. And then when he came down there, we did a test day where we explored everything, and I really wanted this film to feel like a time capsule of this period in my life.
Yeah, it absolutely has that effect. I mean, it's so beautiful. I mean, that one tunnel scene is very perks of being a wallflower, which
Yeah, it
beautiful
is.
coming of age.
Yeah, it's funny because I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, so the perks of being a wallflower has always like influenced a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
So
you've
it
been
was
to the tunnel.
cool. Yeah, it was cool doing a like California twist on it.
Yeah, amazing. So this film is clearly very personal. Did you write the role of Miles with yourself in mind, or did stepping in kind of come later in the process?
I mean, when I like wrote it and made it, I knew I was gonna be Miles, and I knew my friend was gonna be Gracie because this in the entire crew, including me, was only I believe like four of us. So it was our DP, Gracie who played River, me who played Miles, and then Mason who was our sound guy, and then Ollie who was our DP ended up editing the whole thing. The music that you hear is actually two of my friends are artists, and I used both of their music. So it was very like very small, very low budget, but I'm really happy with how it turned out.
Yeah, I mean that's so cool too, like having such a community of like people that are actually your friends and creatives. I
Yeah,
mean, especially in contrast with how the film itself is actually taking on like the isolation from people you love.
yeah. I think the thing that took the longest was it's the opening and the closing shot. Is I have this like whole wall that's
Yeah.
decked out, and I mean obviously like there are pictures of like everyone probably in my life that I like ever talked to. That took like a week to make. That was the biggest thing that took the most time.
Yeah, I remember watching it and being like, when they found this actors, I didn't see your name in the credits yet, so I didn't know. I was like, did they have to find someone who had like a rich social life with a lot of pictures? That's amazing. But yeah, I was like stepping into that role, and it's obviously your life and your character. I mean, how did your understanding of the character though change at all, if it at all, when you saw it on screen and when you were acting it out?
That's I hate watching anything I've ever made. Like I for some reason like I like cannot sit through it. And I was at a festival like a few weeks ago, and I just like I sit in the back and I almost like close my eyes the whole time. I
That's real.
remember it ended and I was like, wow, that was probably awful. And like I had like people's work that I really, really admired coming up to me and talking to me about it. And hearing people talk about because when I watch it, I'm like, oh, that's me and that's my friend Gracie, and then this is how Ollie shot it. Like that's how I see it. But then like hearing it from like a perspective of those people who don't know us and hearing their stories and kind of how they relate and people they lost or stuff. That was the first time I was like, whoa, That's pretty cool. Like that people can like kind of resonate with a character, and also the character is pretty influenced off of me. But also, I wrote about this. I read and watched this book by John Green called "Looking for Alaska" like a month before we filmed,
Oh, wow. Yeah.
and it like totally influenced so much. Like the main boy in Looking for Alaska, his name is Miles, which is why I was like, oh, that's so cool. I'll take that. And River's whole character, not whole character, but like her like personality was based off of Alaska in the book.
Yeah, it had a little bit of that feeling. I mean, gosh, yeah, there's also, I'd say, you're detaching kind of from yourself in that experience, but the character is experiencing a lot of detachment from people, from places, even from himself.
Hmm.
I mean, how do you navigate that? And was that like a conscious stylistic choice, or like how did you kind of communicate that visually, that difference between you and the character?
I don't like, I just going into it, because it truly was all I had going into it was when I was at this dinner with these people, the whole conversation came up because I guess I said a word that didn't exist. And I remember I wrote in my notes app, I was like, I hate when people say words don't exist because if you get what I mean, and I just said it, then how can you say it doesn't exist? And that is ended up with being was the like first line of the film when he's journaling.
Yeah.
Is because that's what I wrote down, and it kind of spiraled into like really thinking about what does and doesn't exist in the context, I guess. And back to the isolation thing, I just when I knew I was making this, I really wanted to show that Miles, like the character, obviously had like a life and was full of things going on, and he chose to leave. And then instead of being in those photos with those people, it was just like him by himself, kind of isolated.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's a kind of quietness to that too, I would say. I mean, we just talked about, Perks being a wallflower. There's plenty of huge dramatic climax moments in
Hmm.
most coming of age movies, but yours doesn't. I noticed. It's got this kind of quietness, and then the ending seems a bit more open and unresolved almost.
I I really, and I think I know some people notice this, and how I really wanted it to be is like it starts off, and we're doing this voiceover that's like this journal entry, and it's so like the music is happening, then they go to this party, and it's like almost feels like a music video.
Yeah,
And they're like running around California, and the music's still going. And when Miles kind of comes to, and instead of like seeing River in the bathroom, he kind of blacked out and was throwing up.
yeah.
It's kind of subtle, but when he's like walking back down the hall and stuff, like we kind of for the first time in the whole film get like a real look at the party. Like it's just kind of like trashy, like rap playing. Like people were just kind of like standing in the hallway. Like no one's. It wasn't this like big grand party that was happening in his head, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I could definitely see that, like the kind of separation of reality and what we desired to be our reality in that moment. Yeah, and I mean, there's so many like almost like iconic kind of feelings like euphoria, like colors and like the, top 10 hits kind of like somewhere in the background. It feels very like I've been here before in a
Yeah.
sense. Um, but how do you, I think, balance like, iconic imagery for coming of age movies and like the stereotypes of the genre with like putting your own spin on it?
Because I've made so before this I made a short film called Gone West, and I made this, and then I also helped write and was in a feature in like a full length big coming of age thing about soccer and opioid. Sorry, I'm not, and I'm in like really deep post for that right now, and we're hitting next year's festival circuit. And I've just been talking a lot about this because I guess I have this whole brand now, and it is like coming of age stuff. And when I was growing up, I had a friend who passed away, and that I think really influenced my work later on. Because yeah, I guess that's my own spin on coming of age stuff. I don't love doing it, but it's like what I like to show is how, and not so much in words that don't exist because we really only get to meet Miles and River, but I love showing what like the loss of a young person can do to like not just one person, but an entire like group of people, and how everyone deals with it differently, how it really like tears people apart. Once again, try not to be like I love showing that, but I think that's something that doesn't get highlighted as much. And yeah, that's I think what sets me apart in that genre.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of different types of grief, I think, and like you really felt in this film that we were grieving somebody who embodied like an age, a place, a feeling of home, a feeling of self. And that's kind of what was so destabilizing for our character Miles. Absolutely. I mean, that was, I guess, leading into my next question. What moment in the film feels most personal to you as a director? And what would you want viewers to sit with kind of after the credits roll?
I don't know because obviously a lot of this film was personal to me. Like, I think I like the parts that are kind of boring. Like, just because I love Tanya, who like played my roommate, because she's like one of my best friends in real life, and one of my roommates. Like, I just like that how like maybe it's just because it was like what she would do with me, but like I just took a lot of moments that mean a lot to me. Like even just like sitting in the backyard and she's like smoking a cigarette. Like I just like sharing those moments with her. We would love to have people over. I think the last 2 minutes of the film really capture what I was trying to say. How when it's River and Miles at the fire, and River is kind of breaking the third wall, and she's like, "Just come home," and it's almost like Miles is realizing, like, for the first time, like the reason he left is because he doesn't want to go back and really like come to terms or understand his friend isn't there. And I really like the ending when we realize that this whole time, like, she wasn't there and he's throwing up. And yeah, as much as I love like the fun, like beautiful shots of California and running around, I do really like just like the reality of it, and how when we see him putting up the picture in the first shot, it was him putting up the stuff of River and not just another random photo.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like watching that a second time, it's like, gosh. Yeah, there's a lot of subtlety that I think really does contrast really beautifully with, those whimsical, beautiful moments. And yeah, I guess there's also a sort of contrast that we could even point out with like Tanya and River, you'd say.
Hmm.
I mean, one talks and does River doesn't talk too much.
Yeah, not really. No, Tanya's like, sorry, I love her so much. Tanya's like the like party LA girl, and Rivers in my head was trying to be the like just person you really want to be friends with from the East Coast. Like River and Miles at that party weren't supposed to like fit in as much as with everyone else.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's like that genuine relationship doesn't
Yeah.
always fit into, what we
Hmm.
expect. That's real. That's real. This one, I guess, I've wanted to know on like a production level, but also an emotional level. If you can give yourself one piece of advice at the start of this project, what would it be now since you've made it to the other side? And even more on that advice kind of tangent, is there something you'd say to someone in the same situation?
If I could give advice specifically like towards this production and just to anyone, I would totally plan it out more. Just it happened so fast. Like I gave myself literally like a 2 week deadline. Flew out Ollie, flew out Gracie, and that's pretty much all the production money I used. And Ollie, who was a DP, almost killed me for this. We didn't have a script. I was like, here are the shots I know I want like in the house and stuff. But we shot it, and I knew I was gonna do a journal entry, and I was like, I'll write it when I see what we get. And then I got sent a first cut, and I was actually evacuated because of the fires in LA, and I was sleeping in a tent in Joshua Tree, and I recorded the lines on like the voice memo app.
Wow.
And sent them to Ollie, and he threw them in, and then we submitted to festivals with it. Now we're
Wow.
here. So I would totally plan it out more if I could go back.
A cool story. I mean, scary at the same time. Yeah, it seems like though you like were able to innovate in that situation though. Still, is there something
Yeah.
organic in that? Absolutely. Yeah, I guess I was gonna ask about how you balance, performing and directing, but
Yeah, it was just yeah, it was it was a lot. And I was just fortunate enough to my neighbor in LA, her name's Olivia. Her and I just wrote a like 50-page pilot, and we were pitching it around, and we actually just got it filmed, and we filmed for a few weeks, and that was another project that I they let me direct, which I was very fortunate to. And I was acting, but in a smaller role. And even just like the days I had to film and direct is like I give kudos to everyone who does it, but it's a lot. So it's so tricky and so hard, and I just don't know if I necessarily could do it again, just because I feel like when you have to do both at the same time, I wasn't happy with how I was performing, if that makes sense, as a director and actor.
it's a lot of pressure. Oh my gosh. I mean, just on a production level. Oh my goodness. What was the hardest day of filming for you, but what was probably the most unexpectedly rewarding?
I think the hardest day of filming was the beach day at night when it was a cool sunset and stuff. It was so worth it, but it was in end of November, It was the coldest we've it was so cold, and we were in all of our clothes, and
God.
I hate being wet in clothes, and I was just having like I was like I was like having a like sensory overload. We were so cold, but it was so that was probably equally the hardest and most rewarding day, like by far. And we just sat in the heat in the car for like an hour and got in and out, and it was a lot of fun, but it was a lot of work.
My gosh. Yeah. No, I could tell it looked like fall in some shots. I was like, it's got to be a little bit
Oh yeah,
cold.
it was really cold.
Yeah, so you have this beautiful setting. It's kind of cold but rewarding
Yeah.
to have some of those amazing shots. It feels kind of dreamlike, I noticed too. I mean, obviously we talked about some of the like iconic kind of looks of a coming of age film, but the way he moves through it all is almost surreal, and it's like, okay, we know this person isn't here, but is this a memory? Is
Mhm.
this the future? Is he like a dream? How did you want that like physical journey like through kind of all of California? It felt like to reflect his internal one.
Yeah, I going into it, I totally wanted it to be like that party that his roommate threw. Like it was nice, but that's not really what he wanted. I think in his head, he really just wanted to show River all these places that he's like been going to and wanting to show her. So the second he saw her, that's why he left the party so he could finally show her like everything that she's been missing out on.
Yeah, no, I definitely could feel that like the displacement. That was a big thing, and it's like even if we don't have this exact sort of grief or this feeling of like, that type of person leaving in that type of way in our lives, it's like I could just feel how displacing it was. Even when it was so beautiful, in both areas.
Yeah.
Oh, that was really amazing. Oh, yeah, I asked this question to everybody. It's like the letterboxed four. So, for the people at home,
Uh-oh.
what are four films you'd recommend just like leading up to seeing this film in
Oh, is it
particular?
this film?
Yeah, don't worry, we won't get into personal taste quite yet. But if they want a taste of before or after they see it, it can be more of films that you've made, or it can be something that inspired you along the way for this one.
Okay, cool. I think totally probably the first one would be The Perks of Being a Wallflower. And then in a funny way, I think it would be Project X. Because when we were planning the party, I just invited all my friends and I was like, just pretend it's Project X. And then a third one to get that small town vibe would be Palo Alto, which is like a coming of age movie.
Oh,
And then the last one, since I'm like blanking, so I'll just say my one short film, Gone West.
okay. You
From
can use it if it was a building block for you to get to this point,
yeah.
absolutely. Oh, that's so amazing. And also just like on the topic of media that like kind of helped inspire us. I love when films have an original type of
Mhm.
composition. I love sound, I love music. What was kind of that process, like the directions you gave for your composer, like how this should feel, how this should sound? Were there any references for that either?
Yeah, so I have lived in LA for a few years, and I've been so fortunate to become friends with some of the most talented musicians I know. And my friend Devin, I think she's incredible and she puts out the best music. So I worked with his name's also Lorenzo, but I worked with him to just get like the instrumental of this one song, like with no vocals or anything. And I just like I mapped it out using I used two of her songs and one song by an artist named Alex Page who I know, and both of them just fit perfectly. Like we didn't need to like really design a score. The only thing that was built for the score was the music at the end, which is supposed to be like the music of the real music, if that makes sense.
Yeah, my gosh. Yeah, well, I love great sound. Oh gosh. For you, what was I think just out of my own personal curiosity, the line with like missing somebody and loving them in that way and
Mhm.
like kind of like towing the line of like almost like a
Yeah,
romantic kind of feeling in the film because a lot of ways like it did like
yeah.
remind me of like a romance movie in some ways, but it's not quite a romance, but there was still a lot of love there. How do you kind of toe that balance?
That was we talked about that a lot because this movie I mean the very short pre-production went a lot of different ways, and at the end of it, I was like, there was a time when I was like, because this is in one line, and I don't think anyone picked up on it, but they were born on the same day, so it's like both their birthdays. So there was a time where
Yeah.
I was like, okay, what if they're like twins? Like, what if they're related? And like, then I was like, what if they're like? It was like, what if they're like boyfriend girlfriend? And I kind of ultimately went with like childhood best friends. And I think the reason he was clinging on so hard is because it was like a will they, won't they? And now he'll
Yeah.
never know.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. No, that tension was there as it's like I was trying to figure it out myself watching it. So it was definitely communicated across the screen. No, I love that. everybody should come and see Words That Don't Exist at the Athens Film Festival from August 14th. Tickets are on sale now at athensfilm.com. And Lorenzo, where can people find more about you and your work?
I own a production company called Gone West Films. We have our 2 shorts out. We also produce music videos. So we have a few of those out, and we have our episodic pilot coming out soon, and we've been pitching it around, so hopefully series soon. And we have an upcoming feature that will be done in a few months.
How exciting!
So,
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
Well, I think everybody should go check that out, and we're looking forward to it. Any submissions that you send next year, too.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much. All right, we'll see you at the
All right,
festival.
see you soon. Bye.